All right, for more on this, we're now being joined by Professor James A. Russell, live from Monterey, California. He's an associate professor in the Department of National Security Affairs at NPS, where he's teaching courses on U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on the show with us.
Thank you.
Nasser, Mossad Chief David Bania is traveling to Doha for Gaza ceasefire negotiations. Of course, we know U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in London as well. And this meet comes after Israel's killing of Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar. That being said, how optimistic are you of a breakthrough this time around? We know that a ceasefire has remained elusive so far.
I'm not optimistic at all, regretfully. And I think it's going to require a sea change in Israeli calculations for these negotiations to move forward. Israel has shown that it believes it can solve its political problems with the Palestinians through the use of force, and it has engaged in this war of ethnic cleansing, starvation, and disease against the Palestinians in Gaza. And it is instituting this campaign to try to get the Palestinians to go elsewhere so that the Israelis can send in settlers. I don't see Israel in the current political context as in changing this approach. Although we all hope to be surprised that there can be some kind of breakthrough to stop the senseless slaughter.
Professor Russell, the talks are also happening just a few weeks before the U.S. polls, with the statement coming out of Netanyahu's office where he said that he welcomed Egypt's willingness to reach a deal at this point of time. Just a few weeks ago, Trump said that he spoke to Bibi. Do you think that despite all this, the momentum and the movement toward the ceasefire deal, Netanyahu will perhaps not take any critical decision until the outcome of the U.S. presidential polls, because we're also seeing that he's also facing pressure from the far-right elements in his party?
It's a good question, of course. I think it's clear that Netanyahu would rather be dealing with Trump than with Kamala Harris. While the Biden administration has extended this blank check, providing all the arms and money and political support that the Israelis need, there have been these statements, and of course there have been recently a letter signed by the Secretaries of Defense and State threatening to cut off military aid if the Israelis don't allow more humanitarian aid into North Gaza. I don't think he would expect to put up with anything like this from a Trump administration. So I would expect that some of these sort of considerations are certainly going to play a role in Netanyahu's approach to the whole, the relationship with the United States, and he would get an even freer hand with Trump than he would with the Harris Biden sort of team. I think that's clear.
Professor, just coming back to a point that you'd made earlier as well, you said that you're not optimistic at all, and that what Israel wants is for Palestinians to move elsewhere so that Israeli settlers can come in. Now, of course, we know that last time talks had failed. That was because Netanyahu's insistence on Israeli troop deployment, of course, in the Philadelphia corridor. How do you think things are different this time around? Do you think they would probably want to leverage Sinwar's death this time around in the negotiations? Because we have heard from Hamas that they are ready to stop fighting, but that's only contingent on Israel completely withdrawing from Gaza.
I think in the United States, again, it's been this awful circumstance where people have been openly applauding the deaths of someone like Sinwar, for example, and they're seeing this as some sort of opening that Kamala Harris has been talking about this, that Sinwar's death represents an opportunity. And I'm mystified by all of this talk. We, the United States, and the Israelis in particular, have been engaging in leadership decapitation / assassination for the last 25 odd years, and it's never worked. In other words, killing the leadership of your opponent doesn't necessarily solve your problem. It's not like occupying the enemy's capital and the enemy raising the white flag and giving up. I don't know what they're smoking in these places where they think that assassination. I mean, this is the Israeli approach in Lebanon. They assume that, oh, killing Nasrallah was going to mean that Hezbollah is going to go away, and this is complete nonsense, of course. And it's the same with Hamas. And Hamas has been pretty consistent, I would have said, in these negotiations, which has said you must leave. You must leave us alone. You must allow humanitarian assistance to come in, and we are going to get back to governing ourselves. And of course, from the Israeli perspective, at least if you listen to the rhetoric, as you just reported, your reporter just said this, the Israelis they want to starve and kill all the Palestinians. I mean, these are not reconcilable objectives. So that's the source of I wish I could say that I was hopeful, because it's obvious that this senseless sort of slaughter of innocent civilians needs to end.
Right, Professor Russell, the Philadelphia corridor does remain a point of contention. We'll wait and have to see how the ceasefire talks move forward in Doha. But thank you for joining us on World DNA with your insights.
Thank you for having me.